Namaste. It is Monday, the 25th of May. My name is Tim Halloran. I'm an astrologer from Savannah, Georgia. This is a weekly astrological forecast. You can support future videos by purchasing a reading from me at the link below. So I'm really hoping everything can come out clearly and concisely because this is really a Mercury retrograde type of week. And you know, last week I came out here and I ranted for nearly an hour, so I'm hoping it can be a little bit short and sweet this week. We can address the main points and we can move on. Okay, so over the weekend we had the moon in Leo, and we also had a grand trine between Mars and Gemini, asteroid Ceres in Aquarius, and the moon's north node in Libra. So hopefully we had some good conversations over the weekend. That Ceres-Mars trine kind of gives us support the underdog, humanitarian type of vibe that hopefully we can take into this week. However, today kind of things take a little bit of an abrupt turn. The moon moves into Virgo early this morning, and we've actually got all squares today. Monday is like square day. So this week can begin with a little bit of some tension, some challenges. Hopefully we're not tripping over our shoelaces too much. Yes, because we have 5 squares going on today, if you include the moon and asteroids. So this morning at 7 a.m. Eastern, the moon squared Saturn. And approximately right now, the moon is square to the sun. This is our second quarter square. This is the half moon. And the half moons typically bring up an initiatory challenge, a challenge for this next month. Now we've also got Venus in Cancer square to Uranus in Aries, as well as Mars and Gemini square to Neptune in Pisces today. And we also have Pallas Athena in Sagittarius square to Vesta in Pisces. So a lot of squares, and squares sort of have a negative connotation in astrology. They are sometimes seen as bad, and there is of course no such thing as bad. There is only creative challenges. So there can be some creative tension today. There may be some feelings of energy, of drive, striving for independence, striving for autonomy. So much to do. Monday is back to work. And Mars square to Neptune. Not all the bits and pieces are quite together. There's fuzziness. There is uncertainty. There is unclear direction. And so this can be potentially frustrating, especially if we see Venus square to Uranus. There can be some tension between the brilliant, inventive, wanting to go at the speed of light this week. Yes, we want to go fast, we want to have breakthroughs, we want to get stuff done. And this can create tension with Venus in Cancer. Our relationships, our security, feeling grounded, feeling safe, feeling comfortable. This can be the challenge this week, is that there is so much to do. Our left brain is really running for it. There's a lot of energy coming into our minds this week, and things may not necessarily go according to plan. Yes, because this is Mercury retrograde. And Mercury retrograde, just like the Boy Scout motto, be prepared. It is always best to be prepared for the worst case scenario with Mercury retrograde. Now I do need to clarify that being prepared for the worst case scenario is very different than senselessly worrying about all the innumerable things that can go wrong. We're not worrying about all the things that can go wrong. We're anticipating everything going wrong and preparing ourselves to handle that type of situation. Therefore, we can only be met by pleasant surprises rather than unpleasant surprises. That's a big key thing to keep in mind this week with Mercury retrograde. Mercury is going to conjunct Mars on Wednesday, combust the Sun over this weekend. We've got this really active, energetic, restless, excited left brain. And all the bits and pieces may not be as clearly put together as we believe. Yes, this Mercury combust the Sun, this is when the Sun is conjunct Mercury, is going to square Neptune this weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we've got the Sun and Mercury square to Neptune and in a trine to asteroid Ceres. So, we do have to understand that there is a lot of fast-paced, mental, energetic energy That does not necessarily have to be a problem. We can kind of operate sort of quickly this week. We can kind of maybe get more things done than usual, being able to kind of skip and jump around from here and there. However, we need to be very, very, very flexible this week. We need to be very tuned into our emotions, to our intuition, to our spiritual connection, because this is a week where it can be very, very easy to lose sight of the bigger picture, to get lost in all the details, all the busyness, all the scheduling, and the wheels in the brain can go so fast that it can be easy to have a meltdown, a breakdown, frustrations this week. And you know, where there is all of these squares, all of this tension, this is creative tension. There is creative potential. That means if we can remain flexible and not overly fixated, this creative energy can be channeled in unexpected ways, not necessarily the ways that we anticipate it going. If we schedule out from 2 to 4, I'm going to do this, from 4 to 6, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, we are setting ourselves up for some things to not exactly go right? Because last week we talked about and introduced Mercury Retrograde. It gets all these stereotypes for communication malfunction, technology breakdown, scheduling and traveling, incongruities, yes? And we can anticipate some of these things. There are wires that get crossed. Communication can go awry. We can hear different things than is what is meant to be, you know, broadcasted, and we can broadcast things in a way that is misinterpreted by other people. So this can happen. But the key here is to remain open and flexible. Mercury retrograde is not punishment. Technology doesn't break down and scheduling gets wrong because we're being punished by the universe because Mercury wants to kick our ass and he's moving backwards, and this is the joke that he plays on us. No, as we discussed last week, we want to be open and flexible with the ultimate potential of what Mercury actually is. And Mercury is one and connected to nature. So whenever we put anything into a box, technology, our scheduling through our life, who we're going to talk to, how we're going to talk, how we're going to think, yes, this thinking, communicating, language, process. What we're fundamentally talking about here is ontology. Ontology is the system that we use to break down and make sense of our universe. And it doesn't matter if you use a religious ontology, a scientific ontology, a philosophical ontology. We all have mental systems that we use to break down and make sense of our universe. And in many, many respects, it does create our reality. So, long story short, this whole Mercury retrograde is really in the service of challenging our own fundamental thoughts, structures, how we think, how we speak, how we process. And we don't want to limit any of these things to a box. Technology is a part of nature. It is alive. If we try to confine technology to a box, it will show us that it has a mind of its own. Yeah, I used to work all the time with computers. I used to be an animator, and during Mercury retrogrades, I would learn how technology has a mind of its own. And life and the universe has a deeper story for us. There is a path that may not be the path that we have programmed or conceptualized in our brain. That may not be the same as the path that our souls, that our guides, that the universe, God and Goddess have planned for us, have laid out for us. So the best thing we can do this week is get really deep with it. Get into the spiritual understanding that the best thing we can do in times like these where scheduling and planning and our laying things out may not go according to our personal plan and our personal ideas and framework, we best throw up our hands. Yes, play the fool. The Fool from the Tarot is this card that represents this kind of Piscean sacrifice and surrender. It's not in my hands. I give up. I throw in the towel. I surrender. Take me where you're going to take me. Lead me where you're going to lead me. Show me what you're going to show me. Yes, we best be open and receptive to the information that can be coming to us, and be very flexible with this information. not be too black and white, not be too rigid. Rigidity can lead to breakdown very easily. This type of uncertainty can make it difficult to put all our eggs in one basket. We need to be open to change. We need to be open to the inconceivable. Yes, this sun combusts Mercury square to Neptune. It's like we think that we're a hell of a lot more logical than we actually are. Our so-called logic may not be as logical as we have been trained or led to believe. There is more to the picture than we have been led to believe. There is always more to the picture than we are led to believe. We have a limited framework, a limited perception. And this Mercury retrograde, conjunct Mars, conjunct the Sun, there is a lot of information coming in. The wheels can be spinning very, very fast. It can be easy to be overexcited, to get overblown up, to get overhyped, and then have a fry, or have our minds get fried. Yes, so I recommend everybody, particularly this week, I recommend this all the time, I know it's really redundant, lay off the caffeine. Caffeine is called a stimulant. It stimulates our brain. Our brain is already overstimulated this week. We don't need to add to that overstimulation. We don't need to stimulate our brain. Yes, caffeine doesn't really wake you up or provide energy to your body. It sends fireworks in your brain to stimulate you. And then we think we're awake. We don't need any more fireworks in our brain this week. There's going to be stuff popping up here and there, everywhere. So we need to calm down, we need to slow down, and we need to especially tune into our emotions. The deeper story of what's going on. Yes, there is our life and our interactions and our networking and our job, the scheduling, the calendar. Yes, we have to attend to all of these things. This is going to be the busy, 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 restless arena this week, which means it's easy to get lost in that direction. We need to make sure that we are tapping into the deeper, more spiritual, more connected with reality, more connected with eternal nature. And this is love that we're talking about. Love and the busyness of everyday mundane life may or may not match up with each other all the time. And so this week, this is the challenge. Let's make sure that all of this busyness and the distractions and the rationalizing and the replaying and the having to go back and fix things, yes, we should anticipate this. We should anticipate having to go back and redo things sometimes. This is a typical Mercury retrograde experience. It's not punishment, it is encouragement for us to develop, to grow. Yes, it's like our brain has this network of branches going through it, right? And over time, as we become adult, it becomes more and more limited by cultural conditioning. Of what, it's like this one branch will go through our brain. When we are a child, there's branches that go everywhere, and then throughout time, throughout our life, it becomes limited. And the reason we practice spirituality, we practice meditation, is that expands that branch. It causes us to get back and reconnect all the different parts of our brain. This is why we might have to go back and do something differently. It's not that you maybe did it wrong, or it's bad, or you're being punished. There is simply more to the picture. So when we go back and redo something, let's do it a little differently. Let's experiment. Let's expand. But let's not let this experimentation, this excitement, this left brain scientific, so much to do, so much things to do. My mind is so brilliant and expansive. It is. That's true. But when it becomes disconnected and loses sight of love, of the deeper aspects of what it means to be a human being, which means that the most important things in our life are typically those people that are closest to our hearts. Love, relationship, family, emotional security. I want to feel safe in my environment even during the chaos of contemporary society. The job, so many things to do, so many travels, so many plans. This is contemporary living. We have to work, we have to strive, we have to intend to balance that unnatural contemporary lifestyle with the lifestyle of solitude, of peacefulness, of quiet, because the world does not give us these things. So this week might be a good week to practice a Zen approach to life. to counterbalance that busy, overstressed office worker type of life, yes? Where you're in a cubicle, you're hovering around the coffee pot, there's a stack of papers, and it's boxes, it's boxes, it's boxes. It's all squares. It's unnatural. Where do we find perfect squares and cubes in life, in nature? We don't. We live highly unnatural lifestyles. We need to balance this out with a Zen type of energy. What do I mean by that? It means you better have a plant in your cubicle if you're in the cubicle, because that plant will be your source of nature while you are there. Let's appreciate the small, simple things in life. Yes, as we're driving from business meeting to business meeting, so many things to do, and we're, crammed, and we're stuck in the traffic lights, and there's so much frustration. What we need to do is take every tiny little moment as it comes, step after step after step, and slow down and appreciate each moment. Not try and skip to the next thing, skip to the next thing, skip to the next thing, try to do it as fast as possible. This is how we trip over our own feet. This will only make us have to go back and repeat more than necessary. But if we can slow down, and as we're walking from business place to business place, meeting to meeting, schedule to schedule, thing to do, oh, look, a tree. Oh, look, a cloud. What a beautiful cloud. Look at the nature of this cloud. That reflects my nature. Yes, this is like the Zen mood that I think. Ah, yes, I want to meditate on food. So I take a blueberry and I put it in my mouth and I meditate and I chew the blueberry throughout an hour. And I appreciate every single tiny little bit of flavor, of energy, of beauty, of nature, of nutrients that is in this blueberry. So this is an exaggeration, obviously. This is an example of the energy that we might be wise to try and incorporate into this week to counterbalance the mechanical, overstimulated, so much to do, so little time aspects of this Mercury retrograde. Now, fortunately, there are the deeper aspects that are helping us through this week. On Wednesday, the moon moves into Libra. And this again says, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we must remain open to communication. Throughout this entire Gemini season, Mercury retrograde, communication remains a vitally important evolutionary focus. Mercury is going to form a grand trine with asteroid Ceres and the moon's north node in Libra 2 times throughout its retrograde period. And this is saying that through communicating with our loved ones, through providing a safe, nurturing place with our loved ones, to possess a desire, an intention to distribute humanitarian effort throughout the world, to support the underdog, to protect those who are not protected, to look after the small guy, those that are impoverished, and communicate and network and share these ideas, share these aspirations. This is encouraging. This is what is causing our evolution to blossom. So as much as things may be confusing all over the place, so much is going on, let's be open and sharing with everybody. Now, the word of, the thing to keep in mind is that our air signs that are more comfortable in this Gemini speedy type of energy have a much easier tendency of running our mouths. Yes, like I did last week, ranting for an hour. We want to be aware if we're more comfortable in the air energy, if we are an air sign, we want to watch out for overstimulating our more sensitive earth and water signs that will be less comfortable in this energy. So although it's very, very important for us to keep our mouths open, to keep the communication channels open, to keep our ideas and our emotions on the surface and flowing, because this is we're learning from this, we're evolving from this right now collectively. Please keep in mind that we want that communication is a two-way street. We don't want to overburden or overwhelm people with our own frantically spinning minds, because that can overstimulate other people and make them feel very uncomfortable. So let's make sure we're listening to other people, and if other people are having a difficult time communicating, it can be a difficult time, it can be a confusing, uncertain time. I'm not sure what I'm feeling, I'm not sure what decision I need to do. Just keep it flowing. Keep speaking about it, bounce it back and forth between us and other people, and there can be realizations, there can be resolutions. Particularly in a couple weeks when Mercury turns direct again, this is when we start to see things really move forward, and realizations and resolutions do come out of this. But this is actually happening throughout this entire process. So let's make sure that we are networking, we're communicating with other people, and that we do have the support of our loved ones, of our groups, of our organizations, because this can be a very powerful platform for positive movement and evolution during this time. And the moon moving into Libra on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This is a wonderful opportunity to practice this type of balance, of harmony. The North Node is in Libra. We are trying to achieve balance, equality, fairness in our relationships. And that type of practice leads us to creating this type of emotional security we need to truly evolve, to figure ourselves out, to feel safe enough, to be able to invent, to be able to create in a new direction without having to repeat old stupid patterns out of insecurity. So also happening on Wednesday, we have Venus in Cancer trine to Chiron in Pisces. And this is the deep underlaying aspect throughout this week. Also this weekend, we'll have asteroid Juno trine to Uranus. And the Sun is going to be trine to Ceres also this weekend. And this is, again, we can be inventive in our relationships. We can be supportive in our relationships. Support the underdog. Humanitarian effort. We can create a safe, nurturing space for each other underneath the chaos of it all. The tornado of contemporary life will continue to spin. We have to, create some firm groundedness to not get swept up and thrown around by this tornado. And the way to do this is to create emotional bonds, emotional security, to feel safe, to process my own emotions, to feel what I'm going to feel, and it's going to be okay. It's not the end of the world. I don't need to suppress my emotions, my deeper story, who I am, because there's so much that's being asked of me by contemporary society. Because that is a dead end. That is a trap. We will get stuck in that tornado of contemporary society. We will put away our emotions and our deeper story and our need to feel nurtured and secured and intimately connected with others. We will put that off forever if we get continuously absorbed into the tornado of contemporary society. So let's really use this Venus-Chiron transit to get deep, to support one another, to invite one another, to speak their heart. How are you feeling today? What is your challenge? How are you feeling wounded? How are you feeling like you might be a little tensed up? How are you feeling that might be a little uncomfortable? Let's create the safe space to invite one another to open up on a deeper level than what might be easy to do this week. It's not easy to do this week, so let this be our practice. And then this Juno trine to Uranus, it's like we can figure out new, inventive ways of communicating, of relating to one another that can really take us forward, that can be very progressive in a positive way. And then coming up next week, the first week of June, we have a full moon in Sagittarius, June 2nd. And this is going to be illuminating the Sagittarius-Gemini polarity. This has to do with bridging our left rational, breaking apart and dissecting brain, bridging this with our intuitive, our creative, our spiritually connected, free-flowing side of ourself. There can be some tension bridging these two parts of ourselves. But if we can bridge these parts of ourselves, there is truly brilliant energy that is coming now, that is coming in the upcoming weeks, that can lead to new perspectives, new perception, new appreciation of wisdom, of knowledge, of understanding that can really be expansive, that can connect these two worlds, that can invent new solutions, new medicine, new understanding. Yes, we also kind of have this long-term Chiron in Pisces opposite to Black Moon Lilith in Virgo throughout this month. That is encouraging this type of medicine, this type of alchemy that is really about bridging two different worlds. This world of mundane, three-dimensional time, linear thinking, things to do, limited perspective, bridging this three-dimensional earthy world with the inconceivable world of spirit, where there is no time, where all possibilities exist simultaneously, where all is one. When we bridge these worlds together, this is how we create medicine. This is how we invent. This is how we create art that inspires others in a new way, in an eternally upward spiraling reality. So if we can get deep, if we can get in with it, if we can refrain from getting sucked into the tornado of contemporary life, which is a downward spiral, if we can keep in balance with our emotions and our intuition, if we can play the fool and throw our hands up and say, I surrender, show me what you want to show me that's new, that's different, there is a hell of a lot of potential that can be rather surprising at the end of the day. Mercury retrograde is the trickster, the joker. It's like we may feel that things fall apart this week, and then later on, if we can just go with the flow, if we can just accept where the universe is taking us, we might be surprised with what nice little presents beneath the Christmas tree end up coming out of this, what new directions, what new understandings can come out of this that can really make things better, easier, nicer, more integrated, more lovely in the future. Okay? So I'm wishing you and your beloveds all the best in this endeavor. We are having a sale from now until June 21st. You can hit the link below for more information on that. It is going to take me several months to get to everybody. I'm really busy myself with Gemini season. I'm anticipating myself. Email difficulty, payment difficulty, this kind of thing can happen. So I'm saying right off the bat, you've got to be really flexible with me. But we're going to get through all these readings through summer. And I'm offering free transit readings with the birth chart reading through June 21st, okay? Also, if you go to my website, there is a link at the bottom to subscribe to my newsletter. Every month I put out a newsletter on top of these weekly forecasts that is giving out the information for the upcoming month. So you'll be able to hit the link at the bottom of my website, sign up for that newsletter, and I look forward to communicating and working and evolving with you. All the best to you and your beloveds. Namaste.